Good morning, everyone. This is Tony Gilfillan, your host for the Workday Morning Show. I am joined here today with my special guest, Todd Tarpley. Say hello, Todd.
Hey Tony, hey everyone.
All right, it is December 19th. We are going to jump back into what we were doing before. This one is going to be a little bit different than our regularly scheduled program. We're going to do kind of a workday wrapped for our stream. So we've done about 3 weeks of this stream so far, and we're going to go through a couple of apps that we've built today. But first, as always, I'm going to jump into some of the things that I find interesting in the world today. And we are also joined by our good friend Millie. Say hello to everybody, Millie.
Hey Millie.
All right. So I saw this earlier today. Quantum technology signals a new frontier for gaming. So this company Moth is essentially using quantum technology to generate worlds for the gaming world. Not exactly sure which companies are actually doing this yet, but I thought that was pretty wild that quantum is already being lumped into the gaming technology. So we'll see what kind of AAA titles we see out there using quantum. I don't even know what kind of use cases they're going to drum up for this, but I find that pretty interesting. I don't know, maybe like they're kind of hitting a brick wall when it comes to GPU. I don't, it's beyond me. I don't really understand quantum completely as it is, but quantum computing and gaming is just another level of interesting.
Man, things are moving so fast, aren't they?
I know,
Wow,
it's just wild.
it's exciting.
All right. In the world of entertainment, Avatar, the new Avatar movie dropped today, so that'll be another Christmas blockbuster for next week, I'm sure. I didn't actually see the second one. I saw the first one in theaters and with it's kind of the groundbreaking 3D movie of the time. Had to be like what, 8 years ago at this point. But I heard the second one was good. I need to catch that one before I watch this one. Probably won't be seeing this over Christmas, but I'll definitely be catching this on streaming when it pops around. You see the any of the avatars, Todd?
Yeah, I saw the first one in the theater like you. That was, a big change at the time. And I did see the second one. I don't know if I'll be seeing this one until it comes out on streaming though. Probably gonna hold back and maybe rewatch the first two, kind of remind myself what happened.
Yeah, I find it hard to get to the theaters anymore, especially with the way
It
prices
is.
are for tickets.
Yeah.
And next is going to be looks like the Galaxy Samsung's is throwing a bunch of generative AI, shocker, into their next phone, the S26. So some exclusive AI technology being thrown in there. They're kind of keeping it a mystery into what exactly they're doing. They're just calling it Galaxy AI, joint effort with Google. Not 100% sure what all that entails as far as the Galaxy phones go. I haven't really used a Galaxy phone in a long, long time. I am a green bubble, but I am a Pixel user myself. And this one was pretty interesting as well. So Peanuts, the IP for Peanuts got sold for almost $500 million, $460 million to Sony for the Peanuts IP. I didn't realize Peanuts was such a a big ticket item. This was about the same type of money that was thrown around for like Seinfeld and The Office type of stuff, but apparently, the beloved Christmas movie and Thanksgiving movies really drum up an audience still. So I thought that was pretty wild, the kind of money that's still being thrown around in the entertainment business.
Well, I bet we'll be seeing some peanut movies next year. Some new stuff's gonna be coming out.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll all be AI generated too.
Yep. Hmm.
The I thought that was crazy. The when Disney struck up a deal with OpenAI, so now all the Disney characters can now appear in their Sora app. So I'm sure you'll start seeing a bunch of Disney characters and AI stuff there too. Yeah, interesting stuff. AI is moving at lightning speed. All right, on to our workday stream wrapped. So, what we have done so far, and we'll take a look at all this. So, this is in a nutshell what we've done. We started with that stock notification app. It was a Slack integration. It does a Flowwise agent with a simple web search for when you app mention that bot in Slack, it is able to take the next text after that at mention to pull back the information from the web. And then we use that third-party application to actually do the Slack API calls. And then we used our fancy home cards to display our app and also hit an additional PMD page from that app. And then next we pivoted to that email digest app that we just wrapped up yesterday. So this actually leverages an AWS integration that hits a external Lambda. Well, not an external Lambda. It is part of the AWS pop-up accounts that come with your Pro account. So if you have, Workday Extend Pro, you're able to leverage those AWS connectors to hit your Lambdas, and that's what we're doing there to determine that email cadence. And then we're also using a Flowise agent to generate the actual email itself, and then using Orchestrate to connect all those softwares together with an integration that runs on the daily. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at what these apps kind of look like in their finished product. We're going to look at the stock retrieval app first. So we built the first off is the page, the PMD page that we created that actually does the stock analysis. Actually, maybe it'd be easier to look at the card first. So the card is what you'll look at on the home page, and this is what is going to be pulled back. The integration that we built, the orchestrate, hits our third-party application and then pulls that data in on the daily. Looks like it was updated today. I can't even recall when we scheduled this, but it looks like it was scheduled for 1500, so that was like an hour ago. Um, and then it pulls in the current price, and then if you click this AI analysis, it jumps to our PMD page of stock analysis. Getting jumbled on my words here. And then
Just
this
gonna have to
gives
say,
us
I love the extend cards on the home page. What a great way to surface those type of tasks. So got to
it'll
get that little plug in there.
yeah, super great way to make things very apparent to your
Yep.
Um, and then here, this is literally all AI generated analysis. This is Claude's take on the stock, essentially. Looks like Claude is saying Workday is currently a hold. It looks like it's consolidating. Yeah, just a bunch of good information in here that is literally AI generated. And then it is powered also by this WQL query, which is pulling the business object that we created to hold this stock information. So it pulls the stock ticker, the current price, the created moment when that actually comes back from our integration, the response from Claude, and then make sure that it is ordering by that created moment. So you're getting the latest information from that integration run. And then the other two couple bits here is just our card tenant settings that is enabling the security around the card itself to be able to be visible to the users that you actually want to make those visible to. So within that stock security domain, you can essentially add the proper users to the view domain uh, to be able to show the card to the people that you want it to instead of everybody at the same time. And that about wraps up this app. I don't Todd, is there anything about this app that you'd like to call out that I kind of messed up severely, best practice wise?
No, I didn't. Nothing that I noticed there. The only additional thing I'd have is during the install, there's a little bit of setup to associate the card with the home page. Um, Not a big task there. You just go into I forget the task specifically, but like edit home page and you add the card on there.
It was like uh, edit home workspace or something like that.
It sounds about right.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to our next app. We have that AI generated email digest. And click Open App Builder here. So this one, a little bit more complicated than the stock app, but just because we're doing a little bit more on the orchestrate side of things. So we have essentially our orchestration that's running on the daily, pulling in our customers' information and then putting the information into an email when their email cadence hits. So the idea behind that, I think it's easier to talk around my little high level design here. So when a customer exists, so it's looping around all of our customers, and then based on the week of the month and the day of the month, it is checking to see if that customer is supposed to receive an email on that day. And then we can take a look at what that actually looks like in Orchestrate. So it comes in here. There is no input. It is literally pulling back all of that data from our business object. We have a separate orchestration, very simple orchestration. You could also hit this directly, which I think is what we did. Actually from Orchestrate, we used it kind of as a postman to put in some dummy data, but essentially you could use this Orchestrate to push in customers to your business object. And this is all it really is a wrapper for that push out to our business object. And then we're getting those customers in the scheduled integration. I threw this Flowwise agent up here because you cannot actually debug when you're inside of a loop because it doesn't really have context to the loop data. So I pulled a copy of that out for testing purposes. It's disabled currently, but just to show you how easy it is to enable, disable, and if I wanted to test this again, just off of that debug step, connect to your tenant. I think debugging orchestration steps might be the single most used feature in my live stream so far.
Yeah, they're used often, even not in live streams, just in development.
It's
That
just
was a
so
great
handy to
addition.
just hit that
Hmm.
one step, see what is coming in and out, being able to toggle the
Hmm.
inputs, play with the outputs.
Yep. No more deploy, log, all that. Just go straight here.
Yeah, it just speeds things up so much more. Like my Flowwise agent might be struggling a little bit today. Came back eventually. Like I'm hard coding Peoria, Illinois, my hometown. So what's going on in Peoria today? We got something going on in the Peoria Riverfront Museum, Broadway shows, parks and hiking trails, and Halloween events. Oh, Peoria. All right. We're going to go ahead and disable that again. Again, this was just for testing purposes. I just wanted to test my Flowwise agent outside of my loop. And then it jumps into the loop once it has my customer data, gets the date values, creates the Lambda payload for our Lambda, which is just grabbing the customer's week of the month and day of the month cadence, and then throwing that into our AWS Lambda function. So it takes those week and day and then throws it into our AWS. And then we can jump over to my little IDE here, find cursor. Here. So this is our actual Lambda that it's hitting out on AWS. So here is the app.py, the file itself that is doing the calculation of what day it is and whether or not it matches up to the cadence that we sent into this application. I can go through here, but I promise it does send back a Boolean whether or not it is the current day or not. It's pretty well documented here. You can kind of see the comments on where it's calculating the current day and turning the week of the day and the week of the month into an actual calendar day. And then it sends back that match on whether or not it actually matched up to today's date or not. And then again, I just like to touch on this for folks that are touching Lambda applications. There is just a few lines in your .yaml that basically make any of these pop-up accounts work when you're doing these Lambda files. So from line 27 to about line 32 here is necessary for your functions to get through the Workday API gateway. This is just simple security groups and VP subnets to basically tell this Lambda that it's, okay to get through. So be sure if you are going through here, this is in all of our sample documents as well. If you're pulling, the AWS integration kit off the app catalog or like the AWS badge app, these samples are also in those apps as well for those YAML files. But I just like to point these out to people because this is an easy thing to miss when you're creating these, especially if you're having like Claude Code or Cursor to generate these SAM files for you, which they are very good at doing. So Cursor, Claude Code, I bet even Code ChatGPT is really good at generating these files for Lambda because they are very well documented. But it is important to know that this particular config is necessary to get those Lambda files working. And then after those are working, you have a Lambda file, you have a YAML that's set up. It's as simple as going to your AWS toolkit. It is a simple extension. If you want to go into the details of this, I don't recall the episode off the top of my head, but it is basically the AWS Lambda version of this stream that you can go and check out. We walk through how to set this particular IDE up, how to get the Lambda file in there, how to deploy everything, but all it is right clicking, sync, and it'll walk you through the different steps of pushing this bad boy out, and then you're able to call it back from your connector. So once it is deployed, all you're using is that function name to essentially call it because it is tied to the Lambda account on this particular company. You can, if you're using your own AWS account, like if you want to essentially bring your own AWS account, you won't be able to use the connectors because these only connect to the AWS accounts that are tied to the Workday companies that you're paying these for. But you can do an HTTP call to essentially do the same thing, but it will be a little bit more involved than just throwing in the function name and the payload, but it is very possible. It's just an HTTP call out to that API to hit your Lambda function. And again, very well documented out on the AWS side of things. And then after AWS determines that the email cadence has matched or not matched, it will go to our create values here and tell us whether or not that today is today. So we get our Boolean value, it is going to log that. It is going to then branch on whether or not it is today or not. If it is not today, all it's going to do is say, nope, today's not today. And then it's going to, finish the loop there. But if it is today, it is going to come down and hit our agent. So it's going to log. It's going to grab that customer location because we are going to grab that location, feed that into our agent, and that agent is going to return the value of the email that we wanted to return. Let's go ahead and jump over to Flowise to see what that agent is. And actually, we didn't touch on the Slack agent, so we'll do that really quick. These are super simple agents. Flowise is pretty handy and can create pop-up agents very fast. All start buttons come with every agent that you create. This second one is just a custom function that saves my Slack API key as a variable that I can then reference in my next custom function. And the Claude agent is literally just doing a web search for me. There's literally no um, additional input to this. It is just sending back the question that comes through that Slack API. Um, so there was no additional configuration here besides just the model that I chose. And then last is the custom function to send it back to Slack. This is very simple, just fetch and put. It is a post back to our little extra bot that we built. If you guys want a copy of this little Slack bot, it is out on the repository that's linked in the description of this video. And then it grabs that Slack API key and stringifies the input from our bot and then posts it back to Slack. Super handy, super quick, very easy to do. But looks here is like our node version's out of date. Uh, Before, I just basically copy and pasted and created these by hand, but I just noticed this morning that there's this handy button right here. This is a little update node button. Click that, and it literally updates all your nodes to the latest nodes. So you don't have to do what I did and copy all those nodes back in there. Now it's using all the latest. You can save it, and bada bing, bada boom, you're now using the latest nodes from Flowise. And then let's jump over to our email agent. This is even simpler. So all it's doing is taking the question that you submit to this agent and putting it into our prompt. If you remember earlier this week, we had a very simple prompt that just said generate me an email based on this location, give me 3 events. But then I put that into Claude again, and then it generated me a more robust prompt to generate HTML tags for our rich text field. So it is now throwing back HTML at us that we're able to save to our rich text field. Um, we still had an issue from yesterday that they basically it's still coming through as just a big long string of HTML. We would have to save that in a different way to our rich text field to be able to view that properly on our rich text widgets. So that's a minor bug that we have, but it is coming back in a way that we would be able to save it. So, and then that's the end of that agent. So essentially, we're getting back HTML after feeding this agent a location. And then after that, it just creates that content in a create values. So basically just dumping that email content that's coming out of the agent into a value that we can reference. And then finally pushing it back into our business object. So here is where we would essentially send this email as a customer. Um, send this email as to our customers, but I wanted to kind of create that management cycle. You could effectively run this daily and create emails and then be able to go in and change them before the email cadence date. But I haven't, enhanced this app to get to that point. So it's essentially on the email cadence day is creating the email to be able to update. So a little a little backwards, but it does kind of function the way we coded it. So, and now let's jump back to app itself, and we had two different pages, our view page and our update page. And these were actually both generated by Copilot. So I didn't actually build either of these pages. I literally just prompted Copilot saying, I need a view page and an update page for my business object customer digest info. And it was able to spin out both these pages, update my AMD, give me the graph queries I needed to retrieve my data and update my data. And then I was able to just see it from there and fiddle with things from after the automated generated stuff. So very handy way to get you going. Didn't exactly put everything I needed, and obviously there's still some bugs that I need to adjust, but what a great starting point to jump off from. Let's see where we at. So here's the view page. So you can see we are saving that big long thing of HTML text. They're all unescaped. So there's definitely some syntax that we need to fiddle with in between the agent and saving it to our rich text field. But it is coming through as HTML. It's just a little funny looking, but we can adjust that pretty quickly.
And
And then
Copilot did all that for you, huh?
it did, yeah, pretty
Wow.
sweet. Even generating
Yeah.
grids and stuff. Oh no, I didn't save my update page. So now we get to do that again. Let's go ahead and let's generate us an update page off of the customer digest info object. Create me update, call it an edit page. My customer digest 5. So I must not have pushed this to App Hub yesterday when I had finished it up. So there it is. It's already created again for me my update page. It's also created my graph query for both getting and updating. It's also created my mock data, so I don't even need to connect to a tenant. And it's also created my AMD for the endpoints that it's thrown in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just say add to app, do all that for me,
Add it all.
and boom. So less than a minute, updated 5 different files. Super handy.
And
Here's
you
my
got an
update
update page.
page. Figure the route. Let's see here. I have to grab one of my hard-coded values here. So we're going to run the debug on that get from our orchestrate. Grab Jane
There's
Doe here. That in my page. So this is essentially doing the update page on Jane Doe's information. So it's pulling back Jane Doe, Acme Corporation, New York, has my email content, the prompt. It was able to generate my email content, but that is not rich text. You can change that. Super simple with visual mode. Down here at email content, drop down, rich text, type rich text here. And again, this isn't going to show up very cleanly because it is in some funky formatting still. We'll have to adjust that and make this actually pretty when it comes through so our emails actually look like the way that we want them to look. But still pretty cool, pretty neat coming through here. Very easy to generate these. And that's kind of the state in which these apps exist. I think I do want to fiddle with this email content version a little bit more. It's before I officially call this bug free, but I do like the way that this app turned out. I think it is a pretty handy way to use an agent and use these rich text fields and use the Copilot to generate, PMD pages and queries and stuff on the fly. Very handy stuff.
Yeah, I like your pattern. Save it to model object for review and then ship it out.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right. Well, I think that's about all I have. Todd, did you want to touch on anything before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I just want to throw a plug in for next Tuesday, our Orchestrate KSS. It's going to be the final KSS in the series. We are going to be covering Orchestrate Insights, the new APIs that were released recently for you to query and see logging information about your orchestrates. Very handy to identify, the volume of orchestrations you have running, maybe some scalability areas, some potential to improve performance, to avoid those scalability issues. We're going to be going over these APIs. We're going to explain what the APIs are. We'll take you through an extend app that really illustrates how to use them, how they work. The extend app is not really intended to be like migrated to production. It's really an illustration app so you can see how this stuff works. We're also going to show you an integration system where you can extract this stuff in bulk. And definitely really looking forward to next week's KSS. And then Tony, I think in the new year, when we get back from the holidays, I'd like to jump on this program and go through how we take that data that we extract on the insights, throw it into our favorite BI tool, Prism, and take a look at it. Put in some dashboards, really take advantage of what data we have available to us.
Yeah, I think that'll be
So
super cool.
yeah,
Uh, you mentioned the Orchestrate Insights for the next week's KSS. I was actually playing with those this morning. They're very handy. You can actually test those on the REST API Explorer today. So get out there and
yep,
play with them, and we'll give you a little bit more heads up next week on how to get more information out of those.
yep. Really quick plug here. One of the cool things we're going to cover is how these can read the logs across tenants, not just restricted to a single tenant that you're logged into, but across all your tenants. Makes them a lot more powerful.
That's awesome. Well, this will be the last live stream of the year. We will pick this back up in the new year. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in 2026. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. So everyone.